Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday, February 3rd. A cold day here in the Mid-Atlantic region. Indeed, it'll stay cold, well below normal for this time of the year through Saturday. Kind of seasonable cold on Sunday with just a weak system coming through the Mid-Atlantic region. And then there's a warm-up coming in the early to middle part of next week. A stronger storm system will affect us Tuesday and Wednesday. At the very beginning of the onset of the precipitation with that event, could be cold enough in parts of the northern Mid-Atlantic region for some frozen precipitation. However, most of that event should be in the form of rain for DC, Philadelphia, and New York City. And by Wednesday, we could be reaching 50 degrees or more in the I-95 corridor, along with the potential rainfall. Then a strong cold front whips on through here, and we get back into a much colder pattern for Thursday and Friday of next week. So wild swings in temperatures from the cold conditions right now to a warm-up later Tuesday night and Wednesday, and then back down into the deep freeze again for the latter part of next week. And the way this winter has been going, it looks like those wild swings in temperatures may continue after that. We may have another warm-up following the late weekend cool down next week. Let's take a look at the longer term first of all, and then we'll get into more of a short-term outlook here. Take a look at a couple of indices. This is the Madden-Julian oscillation forecast from the GEFS, the ensemble run of the GFS model. And basically, when the MJO index pulls out of this circular region here right in the center, it becomes more and more amplified, a stronger signal, and indeed it will move in this fashion over the next couple of weeks into phase 8, and it will strengthen as it propagates here over the next couple of weeks. This particular phase, this time of the year, generally produces colder than normal conditions here in the central and eastern U.S. In fact, we'll take a look at some of the temperature composites for these different MJO index phases here. And again, as we head into phase 8, typically that leads to colder than normal conditions here in the eastern U.S. The question is, will it become sustained and long-term, or will this just continue to wrap around? Again, that's been the case for much of the winter, where we haven't had a real long sustained period of cold. December was pretty sustained cold, but in the last 6 weeks or so, it's been off and on, off and on. It looks like wild swings in temperatures will occur over the next week to 10 days or so. Well, these are temperature composites based on the movement of the MJO. It's a tropical disturbance that propagates around the tropical region, and it can generally be correlated with certain kinds of temperature and precipitation patterns in different parts of the world. And when you have this kind of a phase, this particular time of the year, phase 7, you generally have warmer than normal conditions here seen in the east with these oranges here. But once you get into phase 8, this time of the year tends to be colder than normal conditions, and indeed that's where the MJO is headed over the next week to 10 days or so. And again, we have a cold air outbreak anticipated for the second half of next week going into the weekend. That follows a warm-up on Tuesday and Wednesday, but there is some reason to believe that the MJO is sending a colder than normal signal, and if it indeed continues to propagate into phase 1, that too this time of the year generally favors colder than normal conditions in the eastern U.S. Well, another index we look at this time of the year to give some idea as to what changes may be coming over the next couple of weeks is the Arctic Oscillation, the AO index. Typically this time of the year when it drops into negative territory, at least for a sustained basis, that generally leads to or is accompanied by cold air outbreaks into the central and eastern U.S. The red here represents the forecast for the AO, and indeed it looks like it drops pretty well down into negative territory over the next week or so. So both the AO and the MJO certainly signal that we'll have some cold air outbreaks into the central and eastern U.S. going forward. And again, right now it looks like cold this weekend, then a warm-up for the Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, and cold again Thursday, Friday, probably Saturday of next week. Well, let's take a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast going forward with the very latest ensemble run of the GFS model. This is the current setup here. We are colder than normal here in the northeastern U.S. A lot of blues here, lower pressure than normal, lower heights than normal compared to the standards. Meanwhile, over Alaska, a very strong ridging, a high pressure ridging over Alaska here, and we'll see what happens. Let's just push ahead, push forward with this particular forecast from the ensemble run of the GFS. And we'll walk through 6-hour increments going forward. Here we go. Again, a deep trough in the upper part of the atmosphere, lower heights than normal. This is for Friday night, but that generally pulls out pretty quickly here. Now we're getting into the early part of next week. Notice some oranges or higher heights than normal showing up across the central U.S. Now we're into the latter part of Sunday, now going into Monday. Again, we have a warm-up coming here in the eastern U.S. come Tuesday and Wednesday, and here we are now on a Monday night time frame, and by Tuesday morning, higher heights than normal, centered right over the mid-Atlantic region, and could touch 50 degrees or higher on Tuesday afternoon, especially on Wednesday, ahead of that next strong cold front. And here we go, we see now troughs starting to form here over the Midwest. This is by the middle part of next week, and that comes full throttle right here into the eastern part of the country by the latter part of next week. We could have temperatures in the 50s on Wednesday for highs, and then down into the 30s for highs on Thursday. Let's keep moving forward here. This is the end of next week. Pretty good, pretty strong looking trough here in the eastern U.S. There are some models that hint at a storm system off the southeast U.S. coastline around this time frame. This is around Friday, February 10th. We'll have to keep our eye on it. Right now it keeps it south and east of the Mid-Atlantic region, but it's a long way away. Things can change. This is a pretty impressive looking trough here in the eastern U.S. come the end of next week. Let's keep moving forward here. And sure enough, we get back into some more ridging here, higher heights than normal by Sunday or Monday, the 12th and 13th of February, again indicating the possibility of another swing upward in temperature. So at least for the next 10 days to 2 weeks or so, it looks like we'll continue this up and down pattern. Again, cold right now, a warm up come Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. A dramatic chill down again for Thursday, Friday, probably Saturday of next week, but then there could be another warm-up following that. Well, let's now take a look at the 850 temperature anomalies going forward. All these maps, by the way, available on tropicaltidbits.com. This is again using the ensemble run of the GFS, a 12Z ensemble run here. Colder than normal, not only here right now, on Friday in the northeast U.S., but all the way throughout pretty much the entire northern section of the U.S. Let's just move forward here and look at the topsy-turvy, wild swing in temperatures from cold to warm to cold to warm again here as we move forward. This is now by tomorrow morning, and notice the colder than normal pushing off the northeast coast, pretty seasonably cold by Sunday. And then here we go by early part of next week. Notice this warmer than normal blob here over the central U.S. starting to spread into the northeast. This is now by Monday night, and again by Tuesday and Wednesday we will be well above normal. Temperatures way up in the 50s perhaps on Wednesday, accompanied by some rainfall. But notice right there in the wings, another cold air mass here dropping across the northwestern U.S. They've had a very cold winter out in this part of the country. Montana, for example, one of the coldest winters they've ever experienced. That's where a lot of the cold air masses have cut across from southwestern Canada right across the interior northwest. And they've had, again, very cold conditions here. Let's keep pushing forward here. This is now Wednesday. And a strong cold front by this time will be right over the Ohio Valley, And here we go. It comes through here probably in the Wednesday night time frame, and we drop down significantly between Wednesday and Thursday. Again, maybe the 50s on Wednesday and the 30s on Thursday. And it stays cold for another 2 or 3 days. Again, we'll watch at this time a potential storm system off the southeast U.S. coastline. But notice right there on the heels, another warm air mass, warmer than normal in the central U.S. by next weekend. We're talking about Saturday, February 11th, and that moves right into the northeastern U.S. So again, this ensemble run is favoring the wild swing in temperatures for the next week to 10 days or so. Well, let's wrap up by looking at the surface forecast map from the 12Z GFS model run. This is the current outlook here for Friday afternoon. Let's just push ahead here. We have strong high pressure continuing to produce some northerly winds or northwesterly winds here in the mid-Atlantic region, way below normal right now. It'll be a downright cold night tonight. This is the forecast map for early this evening. Some areas can drop into the teens in the overnight hours in the suburban locations of the big cities along I-95 here. By tomorrow morning, that high moving right about over the mid-Atlantic region. Breezy early part of the day, but those winds should slacken off during the afternoon. And here we go, by late tomorrow, we start to see the winds turning around, coming out of the southwest across the Ohio Valley. Still a chilly day here on Sunday. Seasonably cold. Could be a rain or snow shower, nothing significant by any means. Then we move into the early part of next week. High pressure along the East Coast, but notice a lot of moisture starting to form here in the south central U.S. This is by Monday afternoon. Let's keep pushing forward now. By Monday evening, rain moving into the mid-Atlantic region. A little bit of pink here showing up across central Pennsylvania. This is like late Monday night time frame. Could be just cold enough across the northern mid-Atlantic for some freezing rain or maybe even some snow or ice across northern Pennsylvania, maybe southern part of New York, the interior southern part of New York. But ultimately this will become a rain event here for the I-95 corridor. In fact, let's push forward here. By this time, strong warm frontal system stretching from the west to the east, extending from this low pressure area. This is by Tuesday morning, that warm front cutting right across the northern mid-Atlantic region. Again, some frozen precipitation possible just to the north and west of New York City early in the day on Tuesday, but by the afternoon it should become plain rain from D.C. to New York City. Let's keep pushing forward, and here we go. Strong winds by this time in the lower part of the atmosphere out of the southwest, pumping milder air in. That warm front goes through. It could be a little break in the action for as far as precipitation is concerned, but then by Wednesday, the strong cold front arrives in the eastern states. And by the way, in the warm sector, late Tuesday, perhaps even on Wednesday down across the southeastern U.S., it could be some severe weather. It'll get that warm down in the southeastern U.S. ahead of this strong cold frontal system. This is now the Wednesday morning forecast. Some cold frontal showers in the I-95 corridor. Again, we'll be just ahead of the front on Wednesday. High temperatures in the 50s likely from D.C. to New York City. But then, going forward from here, that front blasts through here Wednesday night. Cold air pushes back in on strong northwest winds, and it looks like it will be quite cold on Thursday and Friday to end next week. If we go ahead a little bit farther here towards the end of next week, and again, this is speculation phase right now, quite an area develops off the southeast U.S. coastline with a storm system starting to form down there. We'll have to keep our eye on it. Right now it looks like it's well to the south and east, but there's still a long enough time period for things to change a little bit, so we'll have to watch that. But again, the main story I want to emphasize here is the wild swing in temperatures over the next week to 10 days. Cold right now. We have a warm-up come Tuesday and Wednesday, accompanied by primarily a rain event. Much colder again for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Maybe a storm system to watch at the end of next week, and then that, typical of this winter, may be followed by another warm-up a few days later. That's it for now. For VencoreWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.